And I think that the 100th anniversary of the creation of the Medical Research Council is certainly worth celebrating. I was looking through some of the histories of the MRC and found this comment from the one of its first heads, Sir Walter Fletcher. And he said that there were 3 British statesmen who had notably furthered the cause of medical science. They were, first, King Henry VIII, who founded the Regius Chairs of Physic at Oxford and Cambridge. They were
2 years later, actually.
Oh, thank you very much. And both of them after Aberdeen, of course. Yes. Secondly, King Charles II, who gave the Royal Society its charter. And I remember the 350th anniversary of the Royal Society we're celebrating the other year. And third on his list of great figures was Mr. Lloyd George with his Act. And in a way, those 3 institutions are still at the heart of what we do. And we have representatives from all 3 with us this evening. But each of them embodies something greater than themselves, which I think tells us something very important about British science. Because first of all, when we talk about the Regius Professorships, we're really talking about our universities. And the quality of our universities and the research done in our universities is a great asset. Of course, the guilty secret is that the Regius Professorships, which are now celebrated as some great ornament of our academic life, and indeed we marked the 60th anniversary of the Queen's accession with the creation of 12 more Regius Professorships. The Regius Professorships were introduced by Henry VIII in a desperate attempt to get control over the universities by taking control of appointments. And I'd like to make it clear, occasionally the thought does cross my mind, but we resist it. We resist it because we believe in the autonomy of our universities. The celebration of the Royal Society and the creation of the Royal Society is now a reminder of the second great asset in our system, the extraordinarily rich network of learned societies that ensure the open and free debate and assessment of ideas. And I've been very influenced, as some of you will know, because I referred to this before, the book by Jan Mokier, The Gifts of Athena. There's such a debate amongst the economic historians about the origins of the Industrial Revolution. And that argument in that book, his book, is one of the reasons why Britain had the Industrial Revolution, is we had a network of learned societies, of science clubs, of publications that meant that ideas were transmitted more efficiently across 18th century England. So for the first time, a technical advance made in one place could be shared rapidly and absorbed elsewhere. And I still think that the vigor of the network of learned societies and scientific activities that we have is our second great asset. And then thirdly, yes indeed, the Medical Research Council, but now the network of research councils. And as John said, they have developed over years, and there is, in many ways, the structure we have now is a structure largely shaped by William Waldegrave in the last big set of changes over 20 years ago now. And the medical research councils themselves have a crucial role. Of course, that role had to be shaped in the early years of the MRC. And there is a paradox here, because the First World War saw the emergence of the modern state with the panoply of powers and ability to intervene in the economy and society that England had not seen before. Embodied, of course, in Jeremy Hayward's predecessor, the famous Maurice Hankey, the first Secretary of the War Cabinet. And the paradox was, just when the state emerged in its modern form, Haldane was commissioned to look at structures of government and made a deliberate decision that research activity needed to be protected from excessive interference and control from the centre. So at the very moment that the mechanisms of modern Whitehall and government was shaped, we also saw the moment when the Haldane principle was formulated. And ever since it was formulated, to my mind, it's been perfectly clear, there has been one Minister of Science, Haldane. And the ability of any one minister to pursue a personal agenda or to instruct a medical research council or any other body to research this or not that is very heavily circumscribed by an extremely important principle that we hold to this day. So we put all that together, and I hope that this evening we celebrate not just the Medical Research Council, but all of our research councils, and not just our medical and other research councils, but the other institutions, the learned societies and the universities, which between them make Britain's intellectual life and its scientific activity still so productive, creative and dynamic. And that then leads me briefly to what the prospects are for the future. You are the scientists, I'm not the scientist. I'm not going to speculate about scientific advance, but I do think that we have still some very precious advantages which will see us through the 21st century. First of all, we have this extraordinary, rich, diverse and open culture. We're the only medium-sized economy as well that has the full range of research activities and research programs. If you look even at Germany, in many ways so impressive, but because of the decisions they've been taking on energy, so much of their investment in R&D and science focus particularly on some massive energy challenges that they face. When you look at the scoping and assessments of scientific activity, Britain is the only medium-sized country that still delivers medical research, physics, mathematics, the arts and humanities. And as the future is cross-disciplinary, that is a great and distinctive asset, especially as the experts tell me that the future is the gradual merger of dry and wet sciences, the way in which advances in the wet biological sciences combine with advances in IT. It was extraordinary that the structure, the shape of DNA was discovered in essentially a digital form just at the moment when digital IT technologies were developing that enable us to harness it, which is the challenge, for example, of the 100,000 genome project which the Prime Minister has launched. So we've got a wide range of scientific disciplines. We have got, secondly, data sets and access to data. John touched on it quite rightly, which is the envy of other countries, the commitment by NHS patients, their willingness to contribute to research projects. The US would not be able to dream of 100,000 genomes being sequenced for patients about whom we know their medical history. What they'll have in the US is people going into Walmart paying to have their personal genome sequenced, but it will be much harder to link it up to large-scale medical research, and we are determined to continue to deliver that agenda with open access to research findings. And when the G8 science ministers meet in this building in a few weeks' time, one of the other challenges we'll be talking about is how we can ensure that the data behind those research projects is accessible and commensurable and comparable. And so if you put that together, the range of disciplines, the open data, and the institutions that make those freedoms real, I'm an optimist about the future, and I'm confident that in the second century, the MRC will be continuing to support research and advances in medical science coming from this country. Thank you very much indeed.